Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Electrofans Pro Talk, our interview series where we speak with movers and shakers from around the electronic music world. Today, we're talking with Paul Loeb, the CEO of DropTrack. DropTrack is a music promotion company based in LA. They help independent musicians and record labels organize and promote their music. They get your music heard by industry influencers, including global DJs, playlist curators, bloggers, record labels, radio stations, and music supervisors. DropTrack provides real-time feedback and analytics on who listens to your music, when, and where. Welcome, Paul. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So yeah, jumping right in, tell us a bit about DropTrack, a brief overview of what it is exactly, what you guys do, and who your main customers are.
Sure thing. So you gave a great overview already, but I think at the high level, DropTrack is a tool that's used by independent artists and record labels to get their music heard by more people. When it comes to promoting your music and getting it heard by more people, there's many different strategies you can take depending on your goal. What we've found to be true and built the business around is the idea that instead of trying to get thousands of individual fans one on one, go to an influencer, somebody who already has fans or an audience, get them to promote your music and get their listeners to become fans of yours. And that is a much faster way to grow your audience. So whether it's a DJ that has a radio show or they're playing music out in clubs, or it's a music supervisor that's going to put music in the background of a Netflix series or a TV show, or it's a radio DJ, all of these sort of influencers can really accelerate your career and get it heard by more people. And DropTrack facilitates those introductions, connecting you with the right opportunities, the people that can already champion music like yours, introduce your music into that mix and get it heard by a bigger audience. So when we started, the company was primarily software. It's a do-it-yourself tool that you can use to go in and find the right contacts to pitch your music, present it professionally, and then, like you said, have the engagement on who's actually listening to your music. Use that to inform your marketing plans, your tour planning around the world, all of that great data. And then over time, the company has transformed into more of an agency where now we can actually help you promote the music by offering more of a high touch, do it yourself offering, where we heard from customers that they don't want to become an internet marketing expert. They don't want to have to learn about advertising. They just want to be making music, be in the studio or on stage performing, and they want somebody else to do the marketing for them. And so we've kind of taken that to heart and grown the business in a way that can help support you no matter where you're at in your career, whether you want the do-it-yourself approach or more of a high-touch, done-for-you agency, approach to the business.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and then why, and when was the company originally founded, and how has it evolved since then?
Uh, I started the company about 10 years ago now as a way primarily to scratch my own itch. So I have a record label that I started shortly after I graduated college called No Ego Records. And, we do dance music, house music, electronic music. It's fun. But when I started the label, we ran into the challenge that a lot of other labels have, which is how do you get the music heard, right? Like you can have great songs, you put it out on Spotify, and then what, right? You're competing against thousands of songs that are put out the same day. And so what the status quo was at the time, and still is to some extent, is you hire a promoter, somebody who is going to pitch your music to their list of DJs or their club contacts, and maybe they would follow up, maybe not. A lot of times it felt like throwing money down a black hole. And I thought there has to be a better way. So, I have a background in software engineering. I've been, a programmer in, my other life. And so I thought I could build a tool to kind of do this outreach, find the contacts to pitch, know when they're actually listening to the music to follow up with them. And I could do that on my own without incurring this expense of hiring a promoter, hiring a consultant to do it. And long story short, it worked. Using the tool that I built, I was able to get my music and music on my label heard by a lot more people, placed in movies and in TV shows, and played by a lot of DJs. And I thought, okay, if this worked for me, then it might be valuable to other artists, other independent labels. And that's when the idea of DropTrack as a product really was born. And then since then, it's really grown, really organically with more and more labels and artists using it, each month. And as I mentioned before, it's grown beyond just the software utility, where now, in addition to the do-it-yourself tool, we offer more of an agency business where we almost act like a PR agent, and we help you identify the opportunities for your career based on the goals that you want to achieve with your music, and then come up with strategies specifically to get there. Whether that's getting played on the radio, getting your song signed by a label, getting your song in the background of a Netflix show. Everybody has kind of a different definition of what success means in music, and there's a different strategy that we can work with you toward for each one of those goals.
Okay. Yeah, about roughly how many labels, producers, and DJs do you have currently
We have
registered?
about 200,000 customers,
Oh,
So again, we've been in business about 10 years now, and we've helped a whole bunch of folks in that time.
that's awesome. Super. Okay. And yeah, we touched earlier on electronic music. So, what are some of the ways you can help electronic music artists get their music heard in an oversaturated market? And maybe you could also kind of segue into like some of the ways that you work with electronic music artists and labels, tastemakers in particular.
Definitely. So electronic music, is really special to me. It's something that, I produce music. I've gone to a lot of shows in my day. And, I love many different subgenres of electronic music. Not everything should be labeled as, electronic or EDM. And a lot of
Hmm.
times, what's important to you as an artist is that you really identify how your song comes across to others. You may have some idea of what the genre is in your head, but when you play it for somebody and they're expecting one thing based on the label and it doesn't match up, that just leads to confusion, and it's unlikely that you're going to get your song really to be played by a bigger audience or put by a DJ in their set if the DJ only plays progressive house music and you're sending dubstep music, right? They both technically are EDM or electronic music, but they are so different in terms of whether or not they're going to fit well together in a DJ set or in the same Spotify playlist, that you really need to be clear on comparing your song to what's out in the market already. Sure, everybody wants to have a completely unique sound, and that's great. But in order to get somebody to even listen to it in the first place, you need to be able to describe your song in words and in terms of similar artists, the emotions, the moods that it inspires. These are the sorts of things that not only DJs and playlist curators look for when they're deciding to come up with, a mix of songs, but it's important to a music supervisor when they're putting a song in the background of a TV show. Like it is really important that it has proper metadata for them to be able to search, catalog, and even find your song. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it, specifically, a fast-paced driving beat, 128 beats per minute, or is it much slower, 110 beats per minute, like a Moobaton, if you remember that fad from five,
Yeah,
10 years ago.
yeah.
These things are important to help classify, to give the audience an idea of what to expect when they click the play button. And so, one of the things that we really try to champion at DropTrack is using the technology to help empower artists to really explain themselves to the point where somebody even wants to listen to the music in the first place. So you can generate a press release, right, by uploading your music, just the audio file. You don't have to type in any genre, and DropTrack is going to compare it to all the other songs in our database, everything that we've seen submitted before, and help you really crystallize what is that genre, what are some keywords we can use to describe the song. And, it may not be perfect, but it's a good starting point for you to then think about, okay, what does this actually mean? What's the meaning behind the song? How can I convey that to an audience that's actually going to resonate with it? Sometimes it has to do with the lyrics. Some electronic songs have, very like long and ethereal lyrics. Sometimes there's no lyrics, right? And so for instrumental tracks, how do you still convey what is the energy, what is the sort of feeling behind the song that might be a good fit with a certain playlist, whether it's ambient, lo-fi music that's in the background of a study session, or it's high energy music that's in the back of a club scene in a TV show. Like each one of these things is electronic, but has to be pitched and talked about very differently because the audience and the mood is different. So it's a long way to answer your question, but I think more than ever, there's so many different channels for electronic music and so many different niches and subgenres that if you want to cut through the noise and get your song heard by more people, you can't try to broadcast the same message to everyone and like reach a wide audience with something that really needs a specific targeting specific message. I'll go back to the electronic hyperbole EDM genre. If you're making tech house music and you send it to somebody who only plays dubstep, they're never gonna, they're going to maybe listen to your first song and then they're going to block you. They're never going to listen to anything else you send because clearly what you're sending is not in line with what they're looking for. Every DJ, playlist curator, they want the same thing. They want to discover the newest talent. They want to have the hot new track before anybody else. And they have a specific aesthetic that they're going for, that their listeners are looking for when they put on that playlist or they go to that DJ show. And you need to like be cognizant of that as a producer or as an artist, that you're making music in line with what they're looking for, or rather you're only sending them the music that you think is actually going to resonate, and you're not just sending out a wide blast to everybody, because it's really not going to be effective.
Yeah, I did in our Electrofans blog recently about the importance of definitely, sending the right kind of music to the right label, making sure that they're in line with like the label and you as the producer, what you're doing. Then also, genre is a sticky thing because people sometimes are like, wow, it can kind of box you in. But you hit on, I think, an excellent point of like the electronic music field is so big and broad, and techno gets rolled into dance music and EDM category in some ways nowadays, and then trance dance. So how might be some ways that you could help, that DropTrack can help artists actually with making sure that they get the right music to the right space, maybe as far as like pitching to DJs and curators, like what kind of things would make DJs and curators actually support a track, and how can producers benefit from using DropTrack to get more in line with DJs and curators?
Yeah. So the most important thing, like I was mentioning earlier, is that you have to put yourself in the shoes of the DJ or the curator that you're sending this music to. Number one, think about they're getting hundreds or thousands of pitches a day or a week, right? And so they don't have time to waste on things that are either not packaged properly, they, has a sketchy, link attached to an email or something, something that ends up in the spam folder, or just doesn't have the data they need to make a decision on whether this is even something they want to listen to, much less add to their playlist. So one of the things that DropTrack helps you do, for any genre, but for electronic music, is to really package and present it professionally, creating a shareable link that allows downloading in multiple formats, allows DJs to leave comments to indicate their support, whether or not they're going to share it with their audience, and open a two-way dialogue between the artist and the recipient in a way that doesn't overwhelm the inbox. It doesn't feel like spam, and really creates a one-on-one relationship between you and the influencer. And DropTrack doesn't own that relationship. And it's not like Facebook where, if you delete the Facebook page or like you don't have any way to contact them again, DropTrack, you own the contact. You're able to create a dialogue that is ongoing, not just for this release, but for future releases. But beyond that, DropTrack helps you really understand what it is that you're pitching and frame it in a way that's going to resonate with the target audience. So we're big champions, like I said, of using technology to help the artist do something that is either more efficient or things that previously required a whole team of people to do. We have AI tools that we're really excited about, that again, our belief is not using AI to replace musicians, but to help musicians, empower them to reach more listeners with their music and make a bigger impact. So we have an AI tool that can help you identify what genre of music yours is, right? You upload a song, it can tell you,
Yeah.
is this deep house? Is this tech house? What is the BPM? What are some of those moods we were talking about earlier? And really give you an idea of how to position this. And then we take it a step further and say, okay, because you have this tech house track, here's a list of DJs that have played tech
Mm,
house tracks. Here's a list of playlists that are featuring tech house tracks and it's not just
awesome.
based on genre, but it's based on, the audio sonic characteristics, the BPM, the key, the
Mm,
level of energy that's in the music. These are all signs that we use to match the song to the opportunity so that when you're doing a pitch and you're saying, hey, Mr. Tech House DJ, I have the song for you. It fits into your set because you played songs X and Y, and this one, would fit in, perfectly into your DJ set. Again, it's all about making the
nice.
life of the DJ who's receiving thousands of pitches easier. If they can read one line that says, hey, I have this perfect song, it sounds just like these other two that you're playing, it'll fit right in, they're going to be more likely to like press play and see if it's actually a match as opposed to something that just doesn't resonate with them at all or doesn't mention any of their past preferences that might be in line with the new song. So DropTrack is really big about like democratizing that technology, the ability to do the research, find out what the label or the DJ has played in the past, and identify which opportunities for your song are going to be the most lucrative, the best chance for you to have success or get a placement with your song.
Okay. I see. Awesome. So, yeah, it kind of makes life better for the tastemakers and people who are receiving music by getting better matches that are more likely to fit what they're doing, which by in turn obviously is better for the producers because they get more of their music heard and matched. Awesome. Yeah.
Definitely.
How would you say that Drop Track promotes music and artists differently than maybe other promotion companies like Summit, Hub, Groover, Muso Soup, and things like that?
I think it's important to note that DropTrack is not just a marketplace of submission opportunities. It
Okay.
is a cohesive platform for you to manage your music career and your music promotion and to keep track of all of your songs, the metadata, the album art, the anything that would go in a press kit that is going to get the attention of a label or a DJ.
Hmm.
And then in addition to that, be able to find relevant opportunities for you to submit your music where it's going to be successful. The companies that you mentioned are very much like a pay to submit marketplace where you can sometimes browse through a list of curators and then submit your music for a fee. And I don't want to discount those because, DropTrack has some of that capability as well, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. And
Okay.
I also don't think it's a zero sum game where you either use one tool or another. A
Hmm.
lot of comprehensive music strategies these days should really look at all the tools that are out there and see what makes sense and maybe leverage multiple things in your workflow if it's going to get, good results. I will say though that DropTrack, we've been around for 10 years now, and we have, many happy customers that enjoy not just the ability to, click and submit their music, but really manage the full release process, get feedback on their music as they're creating it, and manage the full promotion pipeline, not just with DJs or labels or playlists or music supervisors, but everything all in one place.
Okay. So you also offer, in addition to just music promotion in general, like a sweet variety of different tools, and you guys help the artists throughout their music career. And I did see that, and we'll touch on AI in a second here, but like you offer the ability to, sounds like through the AI generators, ability to write up press releases, bios, and that kind of thing. So,
Absolutely. So
awesome.
yeah, we're big fans of using AI where it makes sense to help artists. Like I was saying earlier, and we have a number of capabilities, not just AI capabilities, but things like being able to generate a press release or create a custom pitch message when you're sending your music to a specific label that helps the
Awesome.
label understand why this music is relevant to them. Again, this is something you could do on your own, or you could hire a team, you could hire a PR agent to help with this, but we sort of tried to use technology to make this easier and free, basically, for any independent musicians to use.
Yeah, man, that custom pitch thing alone sounds pretty wicked. And actually, that was my next question. What are your strengths compared to other music promotion platforms like the ones you mentioned? But I think to me, that would be one of the big ones. I mean, that ability to do stuff like that. I don't think the other ones probably offer something like that. And what are some of the ways that the producers, like, how have they found, like, you mentioned, like the genre tagging? Have they been saying, "Oh, I really like this. It really is pretty accurate," both DJs and tastemakers?
Absolutely. I think, the genre tagging has been most important on the sync side. So
Sure.
sync
Hmm.
licenses for getting your song put in a film or TV or commercials. And I really like, sync deals. Personally, the music that I make, I've put in, I think now 700 different TV shows and movies over the years as a result of pitching music supervisors, music directors using DropTrack. And the reason why I recommend it to other independent artists and other labels is it provides consistent income. Like once you get these deals and a show, is airing in syndication every month or every quarter, you're getting, mailbox money from ASCAP or, one of the performing rights organizations. Because your music has been played and you're accruing those royalties. And, that's a way you can earn money and have a real business from your music that doesn't rely on having a hit record that's streamed millions of times on Spotify. And
Mm.
so, in order to get those deals, in order to get those placements, the metadata, the genre descriptions, the mood, all those
Yeah.
tagging things that you think are mundane are actually very important because again, put yourself in the shoes of the music supervisor that, they're working on a TV show. There's a scene where it's high energy and they need some track that's in the background, but there's dialogue, so it has to be instrumental. And
Mm.
then they go into their database and they search for, high energy, high BPM, something in their catalog. You want your song to show up there, right? And it's only going to show up if it's tagged appropriately, if you got it to
Yeah.
them in a way that's going to be in their system. And so one of the things we've done, throughout the years is build relationships with music supervisors, with these like film production companies, so that now when they're looking for music, they'll come to us, right? Like, and it took some time for instead of us having to pitch every new song, now when they have a queue, they come to us with a search. But still on our end, we have to be able to search through and find songs that match what they're looking for. So
Mm.
again, like using AI is a great way to identify what the sonic characteristics of a song are, what are similar artists that it sounds like, and how we can frame it in the best way to make it appealing to somebody who's looking for similar music, right? And in a way that is actually going to get it placed in a TV show in that case.
Yeah, I've touched on this before with different producers, and I feel like sometimes some producers may think, "Oh, if you tag them in a specific genre or sounds like it could be limiting," but it's only to kind of give people who don't know your music, like tastemakers, some ideas. So you guys help them do that. Yeah, it's awesome. I did put in another article I wrote on our blog recently that yeah, you can't assume that when you're reaching out. I'm sure you guys really work with new producers as well, that the person you're contacting, the tastemaker, has any idea who you are. So it sounds like your tools can definitely help them. Yeah, so on that note, could you maybe give one or two examples of some particular ways of how customers have benefited from using DropTrack?
Yeah, I think one of the most important new features that we've come out with recently has really been a game changer for independent producers. And it is even before you start to think about promoting your music and paying money or like promoting on social media or getting your music out to more people, you want to know, is it actually ready? Is the song quality? Does it sound good? Is it going to translate well on, somebody listening on their headphones or their speakers in the car? Having an objective third party opinion about the readiness of your
Yeah.
music before you promote is super important as something that DropTrack now does through our music analyzer. So it's really cool. You go to droptrack.com/analyze, you put in your song, whether it's an MP3 file or a Spotify link, and we will run it through our system to determine, essentially a score out of 100. Like, is it, how close to commercially viable is this track? And again, there's going to be some subjectivity. It's based on an AI system, so it's not going to be perfect. But what we do is give you really actionable advice on how to improve the song, whether it's the lyrics, the mixing, the instrumentation, something about the mastering or how the song is translating on those different speaker environments. The AI is actually really good at telling you that stuff and giving you tips to improve the song before it's ready to promote. And we have the analyzer set up so that, if the song is below a certain score, it just gives you these tips and resources. Here's how to improve the music. Here's tips you could do. Here's, ways you could master. Here's other, education resources to improve the mix. But if the song is above a certain score, then we lead into our promotion, which is like, okay, the song is ready to go. Here's the best DJs for it. Here's the best labels for it. Here's the best, opportunities to get this song heard by a larger audience based on what we've already understood about it using this AI tool. So it's really the entry to understanding the sonic characteristics about the song, the meaning of the lyrics, and finding the relevant opportunities that are going to match. So that's the latest AI tool that I'm super excited about, because it is immediately useful to independent artists that, don't have an A&R person in their corner. And, if you send the song to your friends and your mom, they're always going to say it sounds great, but how do you really know, right? So having, an objective opinion that you can see how your changes to the song improve the track over time is really powerful in helping to understand, is this song even ready? Should I get it out there, or should I spend more time in the studio, making it the best it can be? So that's just one example of, how we're using AI to empower musicians. You mentioned the other one, personalizing submission messages, being able to, if I'm submitting a mess or a song to record label XYZ, the AI can go out, find what that record label has recently released, some of their artists, the way that they like to talk about records, and use that actual language in your, message to them. It's just immediately more personable and more likely to get a response when it shows you've done your homework and you're connecting with them on a personal level, not just blasting some generic message.
Yeah, that's very, very important. And I actually took a look at your analyze page the other day. I have it up here, and I think that's free, right? You offer for any artist, like they can upload an MP3 wave and whatnot. Get the AI agent to kind of virtual AI A&R rep to give some comments, and then they can go from there, right?
Exactly. It is free. Anybody can upload up to 5 tracks on our free plan. And if you want more tracks, then you can upgrade to one of our paid plans.
Okay, yeah, and I'm looking at it right here, like a sample generates a report, and the sample report says, here's what your AI A&R rep has to say about your track. Your track has a clear late night, I love this. Your track has a clear late night synth pop identity with a memorable chorus, polished vocal tone, and playlist friendly pacing. The arrangement feels ready for outreach, but the second verse could use one more lyrical detail to make the story more specific. What to work on next? And you give some tips. It's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that cool that the AI is able to pick that out and know, what the second verse is, and be able to put that together? That's cool.
I'm sure that kind of thing is something that probably nobody else has in the custom press release writing. Is wicked. Sounds wicked cool.
Yeah, we've been investing quite a bit of time and resources in building these AI tools. They are not just like off the shelf, chat GPT.
Okay.
We're proprietary off our own data that we've been, collecting for the past 10 years. We've been in business to know like what sonic characteristics are and when they lead to successful, record deals or DJ placements, playlists. That's all our proprietary data. So we use that to improve the AI systems.
I was thinking another thing to ask too is like if you guys had at DropTrack some what's the word? Some unique advantages, strategic advantages. It sounds like, yeah, you have the years of, kind of like we do at Electrofans, the years of experience being around the game, but some of your relationships, like you said, with music producers, being in LA, of course, you're right next to movie studios, TV shows, and your relationships, yeah, and then data. totally.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Having been in this business, having been in LA and participated in a lot of, industry events, we have,
Mm,
a network of DJs, of labels, of music supervisors, radio shows that we work with. And so, in addition to our software, when you work with us more one-on-one with our done for you agency business, that's when we kind of open the Rolodex and we find, the right contacts that are going to be, the best connections for you as an artist and the individual goals that you have. So yeah, I think the combination of the data, the technology, and the relationships really sets us apart.
yeah, done for you. Maybe you can tell us a tiny bit about that. Is that like a PR agency in itself that you guys have, as well as this software service?
Essentially, yeah. So as we've been growing the business, and when we first started, as I mentioned, it was primarily a software tool that I had built for myself, and I wanted to make available to other labels, other artists. And then I started hearing that these artists, they found it valuable, but they just didn't want to take the time. They wanted to be focusing on music and not worrying about marketing or advertising. They
Right.
wanted somebody else to do it for them. And so that's when we launched the Done for You service, which is, yeah, essentially we act like a PR agent or almost like a manager where we strategize with you, understand your particular goals as an artist, and then work to, pitch your music actively on your behalf, follow up, report to you on any engagement, and make, the deals and connections for you. We don't, we're not taking any like royalties of any placements. We have no financial stake in any deals that you create. We're just going to create the introductions. We're going to make the exposure, get you involved, and create the relationships to take forward, directly with the whether it's journalists or DJs or record labels. That's kind of the domain that we work with.
So does that also function kind of like a matchmaking service, sort of like between producers,
Yeah, I mean,
music
if that's the
supervisors?
goal, like we've worked with, some producers that wanted, really to take their songs to the next level, but with adding top line. So, helping to find almost like
Yeah,
an A&R, right? To find vocalists and songwriters that we can pair
remixes. Yeah.
together to really take those songs to the next level and make them more commercially friendly.
Okay. Yeah. Next question. I think we probably kind of touched on this. The answer would be kind of through obviously some of the really cool sounding drop track tools. But if you could offer maybe a few tips on how producers and tastemakers or playlisters can better collaborate together. I saw a post from DropTrack on LinkedIn. Maybe it was from one of your blog posts, a really nice one that hammered home for me as a kind of Electrofans. We're kind of a music promotion platform and also probably tastemakers, if it were. But you mentioned how what was it like the music for the producer? Because again, I think tunnel vision is a massive thing in this industry. As the producer DJ, you may think, oh, this is melodic techno, right? Or someone else may say, no, it's tech house. Like, so probably stuff like that, like making sure that you're in sync about um, what the music sounds like. BPM too, for me, I'm not necessarily a producer, but I mean, I know like I can hear by my ear, okay, well, it's just a chill out, whatever. But I can understand if you're a professional DJ and maybe your DJ equipment is like geared towards a certain number. So maybe 140, 160. Some of the DJ geeks can, that means a ton to them. And even maybe like 160, 165 BPM. So yeah, if you could offer a few tips on better collabs for all the parties in the pie.
Yeah, I think, you know, this advice maybe goes beyond just music and music collaboration, but in most relationships, professional or otherwise, it's helpful to think about what does the other party want, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
what's in it for them? If you're producing beats and you're working with a songwriter, that sort of synergy is pretty a little bit more clear, right? Like they're going to contribute lyrics and melody, maybe you're going to contribute the beats and production, and you can have something that works well together. When you have multiple folks all working on the same track, multiple different producers contributing, it gets a little bit more complicated trying to keep track of like royalty splits and who was in the room, who came up with what. My general guidance is that uh, find out what you can contribute, like think more about what you can offer instead of like what you need from other people, and have an open mind. Describing yourself in a way that others can discover you, whether it's online on your social media, in your, website, your press materials, the photos that you take of yourself, like all of these things, contribute to your image and help a potential collaborator, come to a decision on whether they want to work with you, whether they want to be associated with you based on your look and feel on Instagram. They may choose, oh, I don't want this guy in my music video because, all his photos are a certain look and it's not going to match with my look. I'm not saying that that's the most important thing, but you need to be aware of it, right? You need to do your research, understand, especially in a musical sense, what is the specialty, or what is the thing that this other person is going to contribute. How does it fit with what I'm doing? How can we have the, what is it? The 1+1 = 3, or something. Like the sum of our parts is
Mm.
is more than the sum. And really getting drilling down on like that focused sound, and not trying to please everybody all at once. And I was trying to mention this earlier with, regards to coming up with a pitch, and you don't want to, just blast out saying everything is EDM or everything is electronic. Like you need to have some good idea of like your specific sound. If you're a singer songwriter, are there other tracks that you can identify that your song would, or your sound would fit well? Do you find yourself singing along to other songs in a similar genre, and you can help identify that, write that into your bio, into your like, DM that you're sending a producer to collaborate with? Say, hey, I have a voice that sounds like this. I love singing along songs like this. Anytime that you're able to use words to convey what you sound like in a sort of visual sense, or something that people can latch onto, that's going to be really compelling to motivate people to, answer your DM or want to work with you in the first place. And then, lastly, I think, again, maybe more generic advice is to be open to feedback, right? Don't be a diva. No one wants to work with
Yeah.
somebody who is, in their own world and doesn't want to, collaborate and be a team player. And if you're like honest
Yeah.
about your desire to collaborate and really do something together, then you need to bring that energy and be respectful and tolerant when somebody maybe has a different opinion, because that's healthy. I mean, that sort of debate is what is going to lead to creating a better, overall product or song in the end. But that's why it's tough. There's a lot of stories of bands that have broken up because they couldn't get along, and I think the human relationship part often goes overlooked when people think about just the music. But you're collaborating. You're going to be in the studio or sending files back and forth over email or Dropbox or DropTrack, and you need to have a healthy working relationship, or a way to at least get along and feed off each other's creative energy in order to make something truly great.
Yeah, some awesome points, Paul. You touched three or four things you could mention. It's funny, it's ironic. I touched on the exact points, and I think that some of these things are like things that anybody who's been in this game for a while would say that, yeah, it's just conventional stuff. I did an article. It was called How to Get on Somebody's Radar. And I feel like some of the reasons maybe that hold producers back are maybe a couple fold. One reason might be just laziness, and also like maybe a little bit of exactly a little bit of diva-ness, like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm too good for that. But I think you need to understand, and maybe sometimes not everybody has great for that, maybe good communication skills. So hiring a PR agency or promotions company like Electrofans to get the word out about their music, or a service like you guys offer, maybe would be a better thing for them to do. Next one is kind of a huge one that we touched on briefly, but maybe you can go into a few of the specifics. Some of the ways that you use AI on DropTrack.
Yeah. So AI
Good
is,
uses of AI, right?
yeah, AI is everyone's favorite or worst subject right now.
Right,
And
right.
I am, generally when it comes to technology, I am an optimist and a futurist, and I like to think of the benefits that this technology can have for society, and not
Hmm.
necessarily all the harms that it might do. And when it comes to the benefits, especially for music, It's amazing. Like just what we can do that previously required a team or a whole bunch of people is now something where you can do on your phone, you can do on your laptop. The greatest use case for AI is the one that we just came out with and I mentioned earlier. It's the music analyzer. So even before you think about promoting your music, if you're not sure the song is ready, you don't know how to describe the music, what genre it is, you're not confident in that, upload the song to DropTrack or put in the Spotify URL, and we will tell you instantly what we know about the song, how it compares to other songs that we've listened to that we know exist in our database or similar artists, and then give you the next actionable steps to either improve the song, make it more palatable to a wider audience, or actually recommend the promotion opportunities to get it heard by more listeners. The next way we use AI is really in personalization. So we've talked a couple times about personalizing a submission message when you're sending a demo to a record label, or you're sending your song to a playlist curator who has, a playlist full of coffee shop jazz music, and you have a song that you think fits with them by being able to personalize that message and say, hey, we heard, your playlist. I heard this song that really resonated with me. I make a song that's kind of like that. Thought you might enjoy. That sort of message is way more compelling than, hey, look at me. My new album is out now. You should add it, right?
Exactly. With no context. You're providing that context that tastemakers need. Yeah.
Exactly. So in traditional sense, you as an artist could go find that DJ, go on Beatport, look at their mixes, go on their Instagram, look at their stories, see what kind of music they're playing. Or you can use DropTrack's AI tool, which will do all of that research for you, and then kind of compile, a little tidbit about, we found you play this type of music, or you were playing at this club, or you just released record XYZ. We help you accelerate that research and make the messaging more personable and more engaging for the listener.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before we started recording, yeah, I've actually used DropTrack. I think for the first listening lounge Electrofans session that we did to find one or two tracks. Oh, this sounds pretty cool. Let me give this a shot. They reached out to Electrofans through DropTrack, so real world case we've done. Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. And as a playlist in DropTrack, you can go in and configure the genres that you're accepting. So if you only want, house music and you don't want techno, you can put that in. And then our system is intelligent to know if you're submitting a techno track to somebody that only wants house music, it's not going to block you, but it's going to put up a little warning saying, hey, this DJ or this label usually prefers a different type of music. Are you sure you want to submit? Because, sometimes the analysis is not right, or you might really feel, hey, this song is going to work even though it's not their typical song, but we're still going to provide that data, that insight that, there might be a mismatch here to help you send maybe to a more targeted opportunity.
That's awesome.
So yeah, definitely, love the idea of AI empowering musicians, not replacing them, using it to help tell the story, help position the artist's music in a way that is going to be engaging for the listener to even want to listen to in the first place, and then really finding what are those opportunities using our AI matching technology to say, your song sounds like this. We know this DJ is looking for music that sounds like this. Is there a match? What is the list of DJs that would be good for your music? That's the sort of thing we're using AI now for, and it's really cool.
Yeah, eliminate the guesswork. Could you share maybe some feedback that you think? I'm sure you have some testimonials on your website, maybe from both tastemakers and artists on like how they've liked some of those services in the AI or not that you guys have done.
Yeah, I mean, two case studies, that come to mind are about relatively unknown artists that were able to quickly accelerate their listener base. One is like a singer-songwriter, Louisiana Claude from New Orleans, who was mostly looking forward to playing more local shows around his town, but wanted to increase the Spotify presence because that would help him get booked for more and more gigs. And so within, I think it was a month, we were able to generate something like 20,000 streams for one of his new albums, and that led him to getting more shows around his local area. So really great use of our matching technology to find the playlist that would resonate with his genre of music, in this case, more like singer-songwriter Americana. We used our DropTrack AI to create a press release to position his music and pitch it in a way that these playlist curators would resonate with, and ultimately secured those placements that generated the streams. Another example, more electronic, we worked with a like electro pop artist from China who was interested in breaking into the U.S. market, and he actually had quite a bit of an audience already overseas. But by using DropTrack and finding the DJs that would play his music stateside, was able to increase his image here, and I think ultimately racked up 120,000 streams for his release that we were working on as well. So, like I said before, everybody has a slightly different goal when it comes to, success in music, and whether it's playing more local shows or breaking into a new market geographically, there's a different strategy that we would sort of take for each of those to help reach the goal.
Yeah, that's a great point, and for all parties considered, and I think that's a huge thing sometimes, actually, especially for more beginner artists, to keep in mind that everything is different. I mean, my purposes at Electrofans could be different than a DJ who maybe they're really focused on techno or bass house. So that's unique kind of thing. So you have to keep in mind that everyone's coming at things from a different angle. I think that's one of the key things for beginners to keep in mind. And that's actually coming up on our last question I have for you, Paul, which is, what advice would you give to first-time customers or maybe beginning DJs, producers, to best set themselves up for success using DropTrack?
So again, I'll pitch that you start with our analyzer before you even think about promoting your music, whether it's with DropTrack or one of the other, sites that you mentioned. It's good to have an objective opinion on the quality of the song. Is it ready? Is it something
Are
that's
you
going to
ready?
translate?
Yeah.
And so I think that is a good starting point. And, if you want to use the DropTrack analyzer to do that, great. If you want to just send it around to your friends and ask their opinion, that's better than nothing. But again, your friends are usually going to have a higher, opinion. They're not going to want to be negative.
Yeah. That's not the best source of feedback. Yeah, objective feedback. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's really the best place to start. And make sure that you have a song that you're proud of, that sounds good, that you think is going to work well in the environment you envision it being played in. If you're making, industrial techno, you need to compare it to other industrial techno songs that you would hear in a warehouse at 3 a.m. Right? If it's not as loud as those, if it doesn't have, the same, stereo quality, like the technical things in the mix need to be similar enough that if a DJ, is playing one track at 3 a.m. and now it's 3:03 a.m. and they're queuing up the next song and they put in yours, it has to sound cohesive, that it's going to fit in that set. And so you need to be really, cognizant and using referencing. I use Ableton, I use reference plugins when I produce, comparing your song to other commercial songs in that same genre that have the same energy, and just really understand, like, am I close? Like, do I need to go back to the studio and completely rework this before it's even ready to get out there? And then once you do, like, I think what we've talked about before, don't cast a wide net. Like, be very specific in the targeting and the messaging and personalizing communications to the people you're trying to reach. When you're the recipient of a spam or an email that the same thing has been sent to 1,000 people. Nobody likes that, right? You want to be treated as if the person actually knows who you are, what you're looking for, and can say something that connects with you personally. Same thing is true for pitching music. And so taking the extra time, using a tool like DropTrack to help identify who those right people are to pitch, come up with a personalized message instead of just sending a big, blast out to everybody, is really going to set you apart and give you the best chance of success as a new artist.
I'd honestly actually rather have a producer use DropTrack and send me way more a message like that than been getting a couple of those the other day. Hey, here's my new release. As me and some of my label partners have said, I mean, even if you may be interested, that's just kind of rude and impersonal, and why would I care? But sometimes it might just be people just don't have necessarily the greatest communication skills, but they can use services like DropTrack to do that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, we want to just make it easy to do the best practices. We've been doing this a long time. We know what sort of messages resonate with people, which ones get treated like spam, and we want to, put in the default, best practice to make it as compelling as we can without you having to go in and tweak things. But obviously, with any sort of AI tool, you always need to treat everything with a grain of salt and make sure review everything before you actually hit send. Make sure that it's saying exactly what you want it to.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I think that's about covers everything pretty well. So yeah, again, DropTrack is an awesome music promotion service that serves as an awesome, great hub, linking entity for DJs, producers, tastemakers, and also music supervisors, maybe for folks who are doing sync. So yeah, Paul, maybe if in closing, if you could kind of, if you had any last comments you want to say, or maybe best things to offer for people that are maybe on the electronic side of things and how they can maybe get in touch with you and DropTrack and use your service best. I know on the web, you guys are at droptrack.com and I think at DropTrack pretty much on socials, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Feel free to visit us, droptrack.com. We have a lot of services that are free. Upload your track, get a feedback score, actionable insights on how to improve the song and who you should promote it to. We work with DJs, playlist curators, music supervisors, radio stations, bloggers, journalists. We can help promote your music either through the use of our do it yourself software or through our done for you agency business. And yeah,
Okay.
really excited to chat with you, and thanks for the great conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. DropTrack can get you whatever you need. Thanks again. Again, we were speaking with Paul Loeb, CEO of DropTrack. And yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in and see you on our next Pro Talk interview. Thank you guys. Bye bye.